Hey y'all, welcome to Corn Roses. I'm your friendly neighborhood organizer, Austin, and I'm here tonight with Jay, Red Mike,
Hello, comrades. Hello, comrades.
Son,
Sorry.
and we're we're coming at you from Alabama. We're the most unprofessional podcast in the land, maybe the known universe, and yeah, one of the only socialist podcasts in Alabama. That's for sure. So, cheers to that, y'all. Uh, and if you're watching this, you're probably on a list. Yeah. Oh my goodness, Jay, I am uh beat. I am like it's. I'm supposed. You're supposed to rest on Sundays. I was not resting today.
It was
I
a long
got to
day.
go on a little date. Yeah, I got to go on a little date. I got to see. You know, who Josh Johnson is.
No, I don't.
He's this comedian. He's on the Daily Show and he's got his own podcast. But he was in town. He's doing like 3 shows a day. We bought the tickets a few months ago and uh, got the last 2 tickets actually, and we got to see him today. And you know, it's surreal when you like somebody from TV. You see them in person. You're like, man, they look exactly like they look on TV, don't they? They sure do. You know what I mean?
Was he funny?
Oh yeah. And he's prolific. And he just about every week he's got a new set that he has on YouTube. So if you look him up on, it's just Josh Johnson Comedy on YouTube. You can check him out. He is definitely an ally. You know what I'm saying? He did some bits on Trump, and he talks about rich folks quite a bit. So he's he, highly recommend. And we got to meet him after the show, and I gave him a bandana. As a matter of fact, I gave him a red bandana. Yeah.
There you go.
So maybe we'll ask him to come on the show. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a coup?
Oh goodness. Hey, you remember that guy who gave you a bandana? Yo, you wanna come on our absolutely minuscule podcast?
That's right. I
But he's
guarantee no one will hear it.
Yeah. So, but he's incredibly prolific. A national treasure and a voice of too much older than him, but yeah, and he's a Southern boy too. He's from Louisiana, but
Okay.
but, but yeah, you said you were running around today too.
Yeah, I had a bunch of stuff to do for Hands Across Decatur, which is the Center for the Unhoused I volunteer for. One of our donor churches had like a special event day where they had all the ministries they work with come and table and speak to their congregations, and so we did that. There was a lot of setup and takedown and chatting with folks and trying to drum up some volunteers and some money.
What? How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'd say probably about a 4 or so. I don't know if I would ever give anything a 5, but the church is very friendly and welcoming, and we seem to get a lot of support from the membership. So hopefully we'll pick up some more volunteers. The church has been generous with their money, so I don't know if there's much room there. But yeah, I'm not the sort of person who hands out perfect scores to anything. But
that's probably wise. I was hoping to hear at least a 3.
But I think it went very well. And I didn't burst into flames when I entered the church, so there's that.
See, Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. Right. Well, yeah, it's a bit of
Uh-oh. You froze on us there. Well, I guess it falls to me to pick up the show. I don't have the memes prepared or the social history. That is Austin's bailiwick. So
back.
You're back now, yes.
All right. Let's see here. Let's see if we can. Boom. We're getting going. Let's roll, y'all. Me, hi. Yes, I was hoping to get some energy from this coffee. Best I can do is poop. You know. I love her. And coffee hits different than these
energy drinks.
Elated, yeah, energy drinks.
You're kind of in and out a little bit. I usually get a lot of energy from coffee. Like if I drink coffee, I'm going to be up all night and jittery besides. Like I call it anxiety juice. It's even more anxiety producing for me than alcohol is, which is why I also avoid alcohol. But I'm a tea guy myself. I drink fancy teas.
I need to move to teas. I need to seriously move to teas and get off the I have two things I'm trying to get rid of: fucking energy drinks and these fucking cigarettes. And I'll beat them yet, but yeah.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years to transition from coffee to tea, but once I did, like the calmed energy instead of the jittery energy is really where it's at. He froze on us again. Oh, that's annoying. Guess I could talk about tea some more. I prefer green teas. But I'm not like a super snob. I couldn't tell you the difference between, well, I don't even know the names. I order a jasmine tea offline. It tastes pretty good, so that's what I go with. And Austin has dropped off, so hopefully he'll be back in within a moment. So I will now fill the air with not memes. Oh, I hate to dive into the articles that Austin, especially since we haven't done our format of memes plus socialist history, which is, as I said, is his bailiwick. But let me see what I can do here. Yeah, I really got nothing. The first half of the show is pretty much up to Austin. I'm floundering here by myself. I don't know if I can drum up some memes for us or not. Well, we'll give Austin a couple more minutes. As we say, we're the least professional podcast in history, possibly in the known universe. I mean, we really just do not have our act together, and it shows every week, even though we've had plenty of practice by this point. But we will get back into it. Surely he will be back soon. All right, it's 9:30 now. If he's not back by, I'd say 12, then I'm just going to start diving into articles because that's what I have prepared. And when he comes back, we can do whatever. Oh, here we go. See? I successfully stalled for time.
Ops out to get us, dog. Or maybe I need to upgrade my internet. There's that possibility. Did you know chimps will sometimes escorting overlords to death in public and then eat the corpse in defiance. Follow us for more financial advice.
Yeah, it's amazing how they've done these experiments on testing fairness with like other primates, and how other primates just absolutely will not tolerate unfairness of any kind. Lessons to be learned there, I think. Oh, you're frozen again. Man. Yeah, I guess probably moving forward, I should have the memes too. That way I can continue the show, even if something like this happens. No bueno. The memes are a surprise to me too. I never know what he has picked out. And I'm sort of the quieter half of the show, I would say. Well, we'll once again give him a couple of minutes. We may have to call in and move in the articles. I said 12, but he popped back on, so we'll wait a few more minutes. No word from our chatters that I can see. Oh, well, I got some encouragement from Jolly Green Giant telling us to do my best. Yeah, I'm doing the best I can here. Just kind of filling time until Austin comes back with the memes.
Well, hopefully, good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. Thank y'all for coming. We're gonna keep.
No, really. It might be a bust for tonight, folks.
Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, I can. So trauma. Oh, you mean the reason I'm hilarious? And it's got some raccoons on there. Can you see and hear me, Austin? Oh, I wonder what's happening with his connection. At this point, I'm willing to personally pay to upgrade his internet. Yeah. I think the first half of the show is going to be a bust. I'll start talking about articles here in a minute. Although I don't have the ability to share things, or at least I don't think that I do. So yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and dive into some of the articles and news items that I had prepared. And maybe at the end of the show, if Austin comes back, we'll be able to do the memes and the This Week in Socialist History. So this past Thursday, Alabama unfortunately executed Jeffrey West, who was on death row for a 1993 murder. The son of the victim has publicly forgiven him and even all but begged Governor Ivey to allow him to visit with Jeffrey West so he could speak to him in person and express his forgiveness and share a religious message with him, and B, that she commute the death sentence to life in prison. But of course, that didn't happen, and Jeffrey West was executed, which is unfortunate. So I know I appreciate everyone who called Governor Ivey's office to try to get the execution stopped. I'm an opponent of the death penalty, even for the guilty. I just don't think the state. I mean, how's this for authoritarian communism? I don't think the state should have the right to kill anybody. Yeah, and it's You Don't Like My Music says the Innocence Project estimates that about 7% of criminals are wrongfully convicted. Yeah, like I don't trust them at all to have it completely right all the time. But even if someone is dead to rights guilty, and it seems that Jeffrey West has had acknowledged that he committed this crime, I still don't think the death penalty is appropriate. And I understand that people might disagree, but just as a matter of basic values, and I'm committed to not executing people. So he gasped for breath a few times because of this. And that's the other thing too, is that in Alabama, well, they stopped being able to get a hold of the 3-drug protocol that they were using for lethal injections, because companies got wise to what the state of Alabama was using it for and stopped selling it to us. There was a company in India that was selling these drugs for veterinary usage, and when they found out Alabama was using them for executions, they said, this is against our principles. We won't sell you the drugs anymore. So the state of Alabama actually bought drugs off the black market. You can, if you Google Alabama drugs black market, I wonder if I can find the article. Execution black market. Maybe don't Google drugs and black market. People might get the wrong impression. So yeah, this happened in 2015. So 10 years ago, Alabama bought. Oh, don't paywall me. Bought lethal injection drugs on black market. Fed seized them, says a report. So that was according to a report from AO.com, and on May 15th of 2015. So 10 years ago, the state got busted purchasing drugs on the black market to perform executions with. And another positive thing that happened, well, I thought it was a positive development, except that where it led in Alabama. So the American Medical Association determined that members of their organization couldn't participate in executions anymore, whereas previously, physicians and other medical personnel had participated in executions. The AMA said, well, this is against the Hippocratic Oath. We can't do this anymore, which I think is completely correct. But what that led to is the state of Alabama, instead of saying, oh, well, we don't have physicians to do this, they just gave training to prison staff to perform set to insert IVs and perform other basic medical tasks that they are completely not suited for. And so we had a couple of botched executions in the past few years where, yeah, the state has had to. The state. I'm reading comments from You Don't Like My Music. The Errol Morris Dr. Death is a must see. One electrocution failed, and so the prison had to tap the public electricity grid. Yeah, we had failed executions here in Alabama where these poorly trained prison staff poked and prodded on somebody for an hour and couldn't find a vein to put the IV in. And so at some point it just became cruel and unusual, and they stopped the execution. And a couple of executions where the person was successfully killed, but there was all kinds of medical hiccups over the course of it. So as a result of that, the state of Alabama switched to this nitrogen oxide oxygen deprivation technique, where they put this mask on you that was made for some completely other purpose and pump nitrogen into your lungs until you're deprived of oxygen. Are you back, Austin?
It appears so. We'll see how it goes. But this is a rough one tonight, folks. But we can pick up where you were at. We ain't got to stick to the format.
We can maybe come circle back around if it looks like your connection becomes stable.
Yeah.
But I was just talking about the execution of Jeffrey West on Thursday. So West in his final statement, he declined to give final words immediately before his execution, but he did release a prepared statement before that was sent to the media after he was put to death, in which he apologized to the family of the woman that he killed and expressed that he was humbled by the forgiveness of her son. He was baptized in the Catholic Church early this year and confirmed yesterday, so I guess the day before he was executed. So hopefully there's some sort of peace for Mr. West. And unfortunately, I think that her son was denied the closure that he asked for from Governor Ivey, both in terms of being able to meet with Mr. West before the execution and, seeing his pleas to spare the man's life go unheard. So there doesn't appear to have been the kind of jerking motions that were seen with the nitrogen oxide death previously. The article I'm reading points out that his lips turned slightly pale and he shook his head a couple of times and clenched his fist during the execution. His eyes also rolled back to the back of his head and he began to salivate. He took deep breaths followed by more shallow breaths, and witnesses heard him gasping for breath before there was no more movement. So it said he was pronounced dead at 6:22 p.m., but it doesn't say when the execution began or how long it took, which I think has to be part of it. So, so you don't like my music says, sorry to keep recommending documentary films, which I am always grateful for any suggestion. I'm the most boring person in the world. I primarily read nonfiction and watch documentaries, so I'm always looking for good documentaries to watch. So Deadline about the Illinois death penalty ban was powerful stuff. There are meetings between the families of victims and perpetrators. Yeah, that's not for everybody to do. I don't, if someone were to have murdered my mother, I think I would advocate for him not to face the death penalty just out of the sake of principle. But I don't know about meeting with him. I'm not sure if I'm that good of a person. So yeah. So that was an unfortunate thing that happened last week. So Alabama has, I believe, executed more people this year than any other state. I think I read that somewhere and I can't find it now. But if not, our number is pretty high. The state executed Demetrius Frazier in February, James Osgood in April, and Gregory Hunt in June. So there's one coming up in October, Anthony Boyd. And David Lee Roberts was supposed to be executed in August, but there is a mental health examination to determine if he's mentally competent to be put to death. So but as I say, like I mean, even for people who acknowledge their guilt and admit their guilt, I'm an opponent of the death penalty. I think there are limits to how far the state should be able to go when it doles out punishment, for the sake of avoiding authoritarianism and for other reasons. So that is the thing that happened. I think the big political news this week from Alabama is that a court actually ordered the state of Alabama to either call a special district, redraw a Senate map, or what were the choices? Oh, why am I so bad at this? So two possible scenarios earlier this week for her order to be upheld: a special session to redraw the map, or a court-ordered map. So a Trump-appointed judge, Judge Anna Manasco, said that the state has to draw another majority-minority or near majority-minority Senate district in the Montgomery area because the way the maps are currently drawn violate the Voting Rights Act. But Ivy has said that she won't call a special session. So I think what's happening is the Supreme Court is about to rule on a similar case from Louisiana. So there is Calais versus Louisiana. So a lawsuit that non-black voters have filed against the state over the creation of a second majority black district for the state in the U.S. House. So the map was drawn in order to be in compliance with the Voting Rights Act. But the justices are going to look at whether the state violates the Constitution by doing so. So they're going to use the 14th Amendment guarantees to equal treatment under the law to argue that white people are discriminated against by creating separate minority majority districts. So I think that Ivy is betting, as seems likely, that the Supreme Court is going to bail her out, and that the judge won't be able to either compel her to hold a special session or issue its own district. And I think I have to say, I think that's probably a smart bet. This Supreme Court is unlikely to uphold the Voting Rights Act. They've already made gutting changes in rulings to it before. There's no reason why they won't continue that trend.
Yeah, I think Clarence Thomas this week, he said something along the lines of,
oh, Austin, I hate that we don't have you. I feel like the show is much better when you do most of the talking.
Oh man, am I not coming through?
You are now, but earlier statement when you said Clarence Thomas said, and then nothing.
Oh, great. Yeah, Clarence Thomas said something along the lines of, past precedents don't really matter. I can't remember the exact quote, but he said that this week. So that's good. Yeah. Like,
so the principle of stare decisis right out the window, along with every other principle it takes in order to uphold their partisan rulings.
Yeah. The rule of law, not the rule by law. Yeah, it's another step towards fascism. All these little baby steps towards fascism, all these folks are taking. It's incredible to be a part of.
So yeah, it's frustrating living in Alabama because we don't have a real democracy here in so many ways. So we have the forms of having elections, but most of us live in solidly Republican districts and areas where the Democrat has no prayer of ever winning an election. So the election results are foregone conclusions. And that's if the Democrats even have somebody running for a particular spot. When I went to vote last time, there were only 2 Democrats running on my entire ballot. And one of them was Kamala Harris, and the other was, I think his name is Greg Griffin, who ran for the state, the head of the Supreme Court. So yeah, the state chief justice. So that was it. Like locally, there was not a single Democrat running that I could vote for. So if I had voted a straight party Democratic ticket, like it would have been, which I think I did, like there was only 2 Democrats that got my vote. And now they're going to draw districts So you don't like my music? It says I live in Toronto. Our left-wing party rarely stands a chance either. That's surprising. I didn't expect Toronto to be so conservative. I associate Toronto with Jane Jacobs, who is a personal heroine of mine. I really enjoy her work about cities. And so I kind of associate it with that sort of thinking and thought. But I guess, it's not like she was the mayor of Toronto. She just happened to live there. So and then now, like, not only do we not have candidates to vote for, and not only do we live in districts, the majority of which are complete, like, are foregone conclusions how they're going to go. And even the state itself, like, your vote for president does not matter here. I often tell people you may as well vote for a Green Party in Alabama, because your presidential vote isn't going to mean much. Like, here, it's safe to defect because you're not going to steal the election from anybody. And it does. I mean, maybe it lodges some kind of protest vote, but I don't know how productive it is. But yeah, so our state Senate maps just flagrantly violate the Voting Rights Act. We're not going to do anything about it. The Supreme Court's probably going to back them on this in Calais versus Louisiana. I don't know when the decision is expected to come out on that. The court has given Louisiana until August 27th to file a response to their question. White plaintiffs challenging the map will have until September the 17th to respond. So I don't know if September the 17th has come and gone like the rapture did. So I don't know what... Toronto used to elect NDPers, but gentrification means it's a liberal town. Oh, that's disappointing. That's unfortunate. I had a similar experience in San Francisco, and I can't complain too much because by moving there, I was one of the gentrifiers, right? Because I work in tech. But I was often disappointed with the liberal voters there. Like, they would cheerfully use your pronouns correctly, and they had all the correct opinions on just about everything. But then when you talked about the homeless, they turned into just complete fascists and thought, oh, we should just get rid of them. It was the most jarring things. It was one of the most jarring experiences of my life, like seeing how against the unhoused community, like the average liberal living in San Francisco was. Like, it was nowhere near as liberal as the city of, that I dreamed of living in when I wanted to get out of Alabama for a little while. Yeah, and it's expensive in Toronto, I bet, and it was expensive in San Francisco. Like, me and the guy I was dating, we paid $4,000 a month for a 4-bedroom apartment, and that was we rented out the other apartments on Airbnb in order to, so again, with the gentrification, in order to make ends meet, but we couldn't afford the apartment without it. So we did what we had to do. And overall, I realized that what it had to offer was more expensive tedium. It had, the food out there will spoil you because you get used to eating nothing but good meals everywhere you go. And the farm to table movement was big out there. So the quality of food was insane. The quality of drink was insane. But it was just stuff to spend my money on. And so that, and I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather got to where he couldn't live by himself anymore. And so I came back home to move in with him. Yeah, Airbnb is ruining the rental market in every big city. I felt guilty using it in order to make ends meet. I did. I was very conflicted about the whole thing, but I didn't complain when it was time to pay rent and I had the money to pay it. I tell myself, at least, I didn't live in the Mission and I wasn't kicking people out of traditionally Hispanic neighborhoods or something like that. But I don't know. I'm probably living a little bit closer to my values now, living on my little farm in the middle of nowhere, Alabama. So yeah. So I think the story about Ivey not calling a special session to draw the new Senate map is probably the big story in Alabama politics this week. There hasn't been much development in terms of elections. I mean, Tommy Tuberville is still cruising to become the state's governor. There's nothing we can do about that. I haven't really heard any updates about the Senate race. I think Steve Marshall is pretty much ahead there. And there's been a couple of other people who have joined the race, including one person who used to be a staffer for Tuberville, but I don't know how much chance he has against Steve Marshall, even having Tuberville's endorsement. It does sound like a cartoon train name. So you don't like the music says I thought Tommy Tuberville was a cartoon train. Like, yeah, you would think that. Like the most racist train there ever was. So yeah. Some of the so in 2020, just a brief highlight of some things that Tuberville has said, and he's going to be our next governor. So in 2022, he said at the Nevada political rally, and yeah, I'm going to say Nevada and not Nevada. And if there's anybody from Nevada listening, they can deal with it. Said that the descendants of enslaved people do the crime. So he basically says that black people are criminals. In 2023, he took months to condemn white nationalism, often retreating the claims of victimhood when challenged. In 2024, he said most immigrants are garbage. Last June, he referred to people who live in urban areas as inner city rats. In the same interview, he said Muslim American immigrants in Alabama would overwhelm us and that we have to fight back against our Muslim neighbors. Like, what? And if none of that seems like a problem, so last year he said U.S. Senator Katie Britt, who is a former business council of Alabama CEO and soon to be senior senator from Alabama, delivered the response to then President Joe Biden's State of the Union because she was picked as a housewife. So he doesn't even have respect for his own colleague because she's a woman. And Katie Britt is as reliable a vote for Donald Trump as he is. So yeah, I mean the man is morally a monster. And his cabin in the woods is not even in Alabama. He lives in Florida. So he actually is running afoul of Alabama state laws that say you have to have lived here for 7 years before you can run for governor. There are many other races in which you can live here for a day and run for, but the governor is not one of them. You have to have been here for 7 years. And his mailing address or he lives in Florida. So we're just flagrantly violating the law here in order to put a racist celebrity in office. So, I mean, and that's the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure his policies would be awful, but just the way he talks about his fellow Americans. Just last week, he was saying there's no unity with the left because they're murderous maniacs or whatever. Those are not his exact words, but words to that effect. And said that we can't find common ground with the other side. So he's going to be governor of conservatives only, I guess. It lets you know what he thinks about half the people who live in the state. So yeah. You got anything, Austin?
I am flustered and off my game tonight with all this.
Oh man, it just will not let you finish a sentence. That is amazing because it showed you moving around and doing stuff for like several minutes in a row, and then as soon as you started talking, like it froze up again. So yeah, Tuberville he's a bad person. He's going to be a bad governor, but he is prohibitively ahead in the polls and in the fundraising. Like there is no way anybody catches up to him. And in Alabama, the primary is basically the race. Like whoever the Republicans nominate is going to win, and he is just utterly crushing it. So he is going to be our next governor, and there is nothing we can do about it. Which is very frustrating. So what else did I have? Let's see, we're at 40 minutes. Yeah, see, normally we would have this time filled by memes and This Week in Social History. So speaking of the death penalty, and also speaking of with Democrats like these, who needs Republicans? Alabama Democratic lawmaker wants the death penalty for political assassins after Charlie Kirk's murder. So Wanda Lynn Gavan, who is a state representative and is currently running for the mayor of, no, she was running for the mayor of Birmingham, which she lost to Randall Woodfin again, who won re-election in a landslide. Says she will introduce legislation in 26 in the Alabama legislature to expand the state's death penalty to include politically motivated attacks. So the state law already covers the murder of current and former state and federal public officials, but Gavan wants to include local public officials and add an aggravated circumstance to the law. So, like, they're working double time to protect themselves. I don't know. Like, I oppose the death penalty, even for people who are guilty of murder. Yeah, so hey, so it threw me out for some reason.
Of course. Goodness, man.
It's a mess tonight.
Oh.
Well, we could just quit while we're ahead.
We could. That would probably be wise for us. Let me try to share one thing. At least let me share this. The conspiracy of the week, since I didn't get to socialist history and Didn't get to do our memes. So let's try this.
These photos change everything we know about why the Epstein files were not.
Nope, absolutely not.
Maxwell and her husband, Scott Ferguson. You may have missed this because it was on the same day that Charlie Kirk died, but Senator Murkowski was the deciding vote not to release the Epstein files. So we wanted to understand why she would vote against this.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, we just couldn't get it together this show. So yeah, I had some more material prepared, but I doubt we get to it, folks. Like this show was just determined not to happen. I may let Austin come back on so we can wrap up and get out of here, and y'all can go do something more productive with your time that doesn't include listening to our garbage podcast. I will say, so there was an interesting bit of commentary out of Alabama Reflector called "Who Gets to Speak Freely at Auburn and Who Doesn't," and it highlights the double standard that conservatives now have with cancel culture, in that it's okay when they do it. So Auburn announced last week that it had fired several employees over insensitive social media posts. So it didn't say how many employees were actually fired, and they didn't disclose what was posted. So, and they also didn't disclose whether or not these people were speaking in their official capacity as Auburn employees, or if they were just expressing their own opinions as private citizens. So what's amazing is that Auburn University not only allowed Tommy Tuberville to speak on campus, despite his clear history of saying just the most awful things that we've already highlighted. But in 2017, Richard Spencer, the Nazi that got punched, spoke at Auburn in 2017. So Auburn let him rent a hall. Then they tried to cancel his appearance. But Spencer got an injunction against the university and spoke regardless. So apparently, letting white nationalists speak at Auburn is fine, but if you are an employee, you can't post anything criticizing Charlie Kirk. And you've seen that written large all over the rest of social media here in the state, where I think UAH fired a professor and other professors have been let go for not even saying things that were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, which I think very few people were actually doing, but saying, hey, let's not rush to canonize the guy either. And that was seen as too far for the right, and they're working to get people fired. So there's a bit of a double standard when it comes to the cancel culture on the right. Yeah, so you want to try to wrap up?
That's what I'm feeling, bro. Like, it's just not in the cards tonight.
Yep. Well, we appreciate everybody who came to listen to us, totally botch our show tonight, but it's all good. You don't like my music? I did purchase the history book you suggested. I haven't gotten a chance to start it yet, but I probably will start it tonight. So I'm looking forward to reading it because I enjoy classical history. So he says running the GOP primary as socialists. we've thought about it. We've seriously considered it. I mean, it's amazing. Like, there are a significant number of Republicans who are on board for socialist policies, as long as you don't call them socialism.
Yeah, I'll run as a Eisenhower Republican minus the immigration policy.
Like, I had this one guy one time convinced like that single payer healthcare was the way to go, and everything was fine until I stupidly pointed out that was socialist health insurance. That was socialized health insurance, and then it became the devil. And I was like, I had you on board with it until you heard what it was called. And I was even saying, like, the government needs, in Alabama, we have a lot of problems with rural hospitals closing. So it's likely that socialized health insurance will not be sufficient, that the government on some level will have to run hospitals. So, and he was even agreeing with that until, like, I started using the wrong language, and then suddenly that became a bridge too far. I was like, well, yeah, that's socialized medicine. That's what that would mean. The government runs the hospital. So anyway, I don't think Austin is coming back. I'm going to stop wasting your time. So as we like to say around here, all the power to all the people. We the people break our chains together. And that is another unfortunate thing that happened this week, is that Asada Shakur died. And so take a moment to remember her. So we the people break our chains together. Solidarity forever.
Solidarity forever, y'all.